Yes. Okay. I think I'm ready. Actually, I'm never quite ready, but I muddle through somehow anyway. So yeah, tonight I was thinking about, we'll play our normal introductory songs, and then we'll spend a few minutes talking about beat and rhythm, because a couple of people have mentioned that that's a particular difficulty for them. So I always like to say, obviously, this is being recorded, and I'll get the recording out as soon as I can. Usually that's the Friday after we meet. And this, again, it's hard for me to see raised hands or anything like that when I'm actually playing. So please feel free to unmute and call out that there's something wrong or that you have a question. I don't mind being interrupted in the middle of a song. So please bear that in mind, that, you know, I can't look at the screen and play my dulcimer at the same time. And yeah, and I always like to start with the tuning check. And I've had the window open here in this room. So that's my bass string, the D. Then my middle string needs a little adjustment. There we go. That's the melody string. So yeah, when you, as the temperature changes, as you move your instrument in and out of different rooms with different humidity levels, it's a wooden instrument and it will shrink and expand and kick your tuning out. So always tune before you play. Any questions before we get started? Okay. So I am going to share my screen and start off with our few warm-up tunes. Hopefully these are getting better for people. Yes, thumbs up if you're feeling good about these 3 tunes. Yay. That's what we want to see. Okay, sorry, I'm looking for the button to share. Doing 2 things at once. There we go. Okay, now I use my iPad. I use an application called Score. And in part, because I use Score because I have like large shelving units full of tab in notebooks, and it just, I can't keep it, or I can't carry it around with me anymore. But I can carry a lot of tab on this iPad, so that's what I've been doing. Alright, so we're going to go to Gray Cat and a Tennessee Farm. I'm going to play it a little bit faster than we've been playing it, just because I think you guys are getting it, and it's a good idea to try and do that. I am going to change my video too, so you can sort of see my dulcimer. Let's see if that works. Yes. Okay. Alright. So this tune is in what's called 4/4 timing. That's the 4 over the 4 at the very beginning of the music. And that means there's 4 beats per measure. And the quarter note gets a single beat. We're going to emphasize that when we talk about beat and rhythm in a little bit. But the way to count in this is to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the purpose of counting in like that is to give everybody a sense of how quickly we're going to play it, right? That's the beat that we want to start getting. Alright, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. second line. People feeling good about that? Thumbs up if you're feeling good about that. Yay, okay. So I'm going to take it a little bit faster because I think we can go a little faster, and the goal of practicing is really, you know, to practice slow enough so that you don't make mistakes, but then eventually start speeding it up so that you get up to what would be a real fiddle tune. So I'm going to just count to 4 this time, and then we'll come in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thumbs up if that was still okay for people. Okay, so I also threw in some back and forth strumming in there that again, it's a good idea to get your hand going back and forth. Questions about this tune? Shall we move on? Let's move on, I think. Okay, so Whiskey Before Breakfast. Again, we'll start really, we'll play it slow, and then we'll pick up the pace a little bit. It's important to play this tune as slow as you need to in order to get in all those eighth notes. And there are quite a few eighth notes. So here we go. We're going to count to 4 and then come in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to the beginning. Third line. Third line again. Last line. How's that for folks? Thumbs up if you felt like you got that one at that speed. Oh, good, good. All right. So yeah, this is this could be a really fast tune, but you know, so when you practice it, try to get it moving. I think in jam sessions they typically play this much faster. something like this, right? So try to move up to that speed. It is a great tune to get your strumming hand and your fretting hand working in coordination with each other. They're doing two very different things at the same time, and it's a great song for that kind of coordination work. All right, next tune is Who's Gonna Shoe Your Pretty Little Feet. This is a slightly modified version at the bottom. The notes are a little bit different, but you'll catch on, I'm sure. Again, this is in 3/4 time, so I'm going to count to 3 and then we'll come in. 1, 2, 3. Whoops, sorry. That was totally my fault. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3. Rest, 2, 3. Last line. I should have said third line there. Now we're on the last line. 2, 3. Rest, 2, 3. So I'm going to play that one again since I messed up so much. And I think, you know, it's a great song to learn. And again, I'm playing it a little slow, but I'm sure you can work it up faster. So I'm going to count to 3 again and then come in. 1, 2, 3. Last line. Alright, yay! That's our introduction. Let me stop the share for a second. Oops. Yeah, come on. I can do this. Technology is my friend. Stop. Okay. And change my video around. So a couple of people contacted me and said that one of the things that they have difficulty with is rhythm, right? And staying on the rhythm, as they call it. And it turns out, actually, that beat and rhythm is one of the hardest things to actually get as a musician. And there's several reasons why that's true. There's nothing intrinsically difficult with it. It's just, it happens to do with the fact that rhythm, the word rhythm, has a ton of different meanings. Okay? So, like, we can talk about the Latin rhythm or a calypso rhythm. And that's not what we're going to talk about tonight, right? There's the basic thing of rhythm in this context is the note duration, a pattern of notes that's played over time, and each note is held for a shorter or longer time. So for the context of this conversation, that's what rhythm, that's the rhythm that we're going to mean. Think of it as a pattern of notes. And I think part of the challenge of learning rhythm is people try to distance it from beat. Okay? And really you have to start with getting a very strong, steady beat. And you have to really work that. And that takes time. And it takes listening to the right kind of music. When I grew up, my mother was a huge opera fan, and she always had classical music on. And quite frankly, there isn't really a strong, steady beat in classical music for the average listener. I mean, I'm sure that, you know, classically trained musicians can pick the beat up out of the various pieces of music, but for the normal me, yeah, I can't hear that beat really well. What helped me the most in getting that steady beat was to listen to music that had a very strong, steady beat. And, you know, the things that comes immediately to mind is 50s, 60s sock hop music, right? That stuff was meant to dance to. And so it has a beat that never changes, never varies, never does anything. Because in fact, if you're playing music for people to dance to and you mess up the beat, the dancers on the floor can actually get tripped up because their bodies are moving in tune to the beat, right? So I know it sounds silly, but when you're, you know, doing laundry, or when you're riding in a car, or when you're doing anything that you can have music on, try to play music that has a very strong, steady beat. And you want to do two things. The first is to get your toe tapping, your knee going up and down to that beat, right? And then the other thing that if you can, try to like air strum to that steady beat. And what you actually end up doing when you do that is to train your body to recognize when you're staying on that steady beat, okay? And that's going to help more than you can possibly imagine. And it's certainly it's certainly easy enough to just experiment with. You can also use a metronome for this. I mean, I know everybody hates metronomes, but if you use it simply to get used to that regular rhythm and get your hand moving, your strumming arm moving, and your knee going up and down to that regular rhythm, it'll help you a bunch. When you move on to trying to stay in rhythm with everybody else who's playing. Okay. The other reason why rhythm is difficult to really ingest is because you have to feel it in your body. There's no two ways about this. It's very much like when you ride a bicycle, or when you see kids trying to learn how to ride a bicycle. You can teach them, oh, you got to keep pedaling, and you can, you know, how to steer and how to brake, but they have to learn to feel what it feels like to balance. And that's something you have to feel in your body. And rhythm is, a steady beat is exactly the same thing. You have to feel what it feels like for your arm to move in a steady beat. So please, you know, consider practicing that, because it's going to help you a lot. The second thing, easy thing that you need to think about is you have to understand time signatures, because, you know, a lot of people will look at notes and say, oh, a whole note always gets 4 beats to a measure, you know, and a half note is always 2 beats, and a quarter note is always 1 beat. Well, that's not entirely true. Which notes get which kind of beats is dependent on the time signature. Time signatures are not mysterious. They're very easy. It's one number above another. It's at the beginning of the music. You've all seen them, and you all know 4 beats, 4/4 timing. There are 4 beats, and the quarter note gets the single beat. 3/4 timing. There are 3 beats to a measure, and the quarter note gets a single beat. In 6/8 timing, which is the third most popular timing for Mountain Dulcimer players, there's 6 beats per measure, and the 8th note is counted as 1 beat. So that's why I say be careful in terms of thinking, oh, the quarter note always gets 1 beat, because it doesn't. It depends on the time signature. 6/8 timing is very popular in jig music and Irish jig playing, and it's a great tuning. Excuse me, it's a great timing, but it's a slightly more advanced timing. But still, it's important to recognize that the time signature tells you which note will get one beat in the measure. Okay, so now let's talk about rhythm and how you can, tools that you can think about in terms of teasing out and practicing the rhythms. So the first thing you need to know about a rhythm is figuring out which note gets one beat, because those notes are going to be your friends. I'm going to share this screen. Let's see if I can do this. Bloop. Let's see if we can do this. Yay! Can we do that? Yay! Okay. So in this version of the form areas, which I hope you can now see on my screen, okay, I've marked up this tab. Can you folks see that? I'm gonna like increase the size so I can see it a little better. There we go. So I've marked up this tab with a bunch of things that help you figure out and count the timing for the different measures. Okay, so the first thing to know is this is your time signature. It's 3/4 time. Which note is going to get one beat? Does anybody want to unmute and call that out? So in 3/4 time, it's the quarter note, which looks like this type of a note. It's the filled in little bubble with the stem and no flag. That's a quarter note. That gets one beat in each measure because of this time signature. So if we look at this second measure, this is a half note, and a half note is exactly twice a quarter note. It takes 2 quarter notes to make a half note. So this is a half note. So this is going to get 2 beats in the measure. So you get 1 and 2 and then the next note is on beat 3. Now one thing to look for is the gaps in the notation of the notes, because there's they attempt to spread out notes if one note is being held. So if you see in this next measure, you got 3 quarter notes, and they're exactly, the same distance apart. Where in this measure, you have a half note, and there's a big long gap before the next note. So this gap is going to tell you this note has to be held. Okay? So, and I, highly recommend that you write down the count of the measures, particularly if the measure is difficult for you. Okay? And that's an important thing. And you'll only need to do this for a little bit. You'll quickly be able to say, oh, I don't need to do that anymore. I can read this. I know what it is. Often what people will end up doing is just circle or highlight in red the notes that have to be held. Okay, because these are the ones that'll trip you up. You'll often start playing before your group is playing because you haven't held this note for long enough. So it's also a good idea to say, oh, this note is 3 beats, and then we change, and then this note gets 2 beats. It's the quarter note and then the quarter rest. Okay? Another way you can mark your tab is to literally color code it. In this case, I've put little boxes underneath to indicate which type of note it is. Like the orange is kind of saying, wait, slow down, you gotta hold that note, and the green is like, go for it, you know, keep going. But you can use highlighters, you know, pink, yellow highlighters on the tab itself. That's, you know, whatever works for you. And then again, here's another situation where I've said, oh, I've got to hold this note, this one note, for 5 beats, because it's a dotted half note, which means this is 3 beats, and then it's tied to another half note, which is another 2 beats. Okay, have I lost anybody at this point? Is it confusing? Is it scary? Is it stuff you already know and I don't need to tell you? Good, thumbs up? You're okay. All right. So this is like really important, you know, to look at the music and then say, oh, okay, these are the things that are where I'm going to get tripped up. Okay. So now the other thing that I recommend, and I can, you know, so if we look at this measure here, where we have a 101, a rest, and then a 104, which is actually 2 eighth notes. Okay, so I would strum out for the 101. Okay, strum back in but not necessarily hit the strings where this rest is. So I would strum out, having that sound. I'd bring my hand back in when it's the rest, and then I would strum out for the 104, and then quickly come back in. Just, you see what I'm saying? So I'm using my strumming hand, which is now, because I've practiced, got a good steady rhythm. I'm using that in and out strum to essentially stand in for counting. Now, in all honesty, when I'm playing this thing, I'm counting in my head. When I play this 011, I'll count out loud, and sometimes you hear me softly count, but I'm counting in my head. So let me play. I'm going to play this whole line of music. So I'll count out loud so you hear. So start 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, 3, 1. Okay? Does that make sense how I counted that? Okay, good shake of the head. Okay. And my knee is going up and down. That's how, to the beat, and that's how I'm keeping track of the count, right? And if I'm not saying that out loud, I'm saying it to myself in my head. Okay, so I can't stress enough. Everyone says count it out, and it is one of the best tools you have to get the rhythm. Knowing that there are 3 beats per measure, and the quarter note gets the 1 beat in 3/4 music. All right, so writing stuff out using different colors, count out the difficult stuff, write in the count if you have to for difficult measures, using your strum hand to keep that steady beat and as a fall-in for counting. The other thing is sing the song. If you have words to the song, sing the song, because I'm a horrible singer, but I will sing the lyrics at least to myself, because the lyrics will give you an idea of what the rhythm should be, right? Last night there were 4 Marys, tonight there'll be but 3. So those lyrics are going to give you a clue as to what the rhythm should be. Yeah, use a metronome. That's on my list of tools to use. I suggest getting a metronome. This is a Korg metronome. It's like $20. One of the reasons why I like this metronome is because it makes a different sound at the beginning of the beat. Let me turn this on so you can hear it. Right? Do you hear that slightly higher tone at the beginning of the measure? Right? So that gives you an idea of when you've hit the beginning of the measure. 40 beats per minute is not too slow to start practicing with a metronome. Okay? It is important to practice with a metronome very slowly, because it can be very frustrating if you try to set the speed higher. The other thing that's helpful when you start practicing with a metronome is to play songs that you know pretty well, fairly well at first. And that just gets you used to the sound of the metronome, which will actually kind of drive you crazy after a while. Okay, so just bear that in mind, that setting the thing so slow that it seems like, oh, I can play this so much faster. Yeah, you can when you're not trying to match it to the metronome, but when you first start using a metronome, really ratchet down the speed and play songs that you know really well. The other tricks that people suggest is that you can clap the rhythm. So you can, last night there were 4 Marys, tonight, that's helpful because your hands are moving. If you're learning a song, the best way to learn the song is to listen to the song played by other dulcimer players. So that's your top number one. Find the song. Hopefully it's on, hopefully it's a dulcimer group playing it, and you'll hear that rhythm and you'll catch the song much faster if you listen to that. All right, I think I have only one more tip. Yes, so there are websites and apps where you can tap the rhythm with your finger, and I personally don't use those very much because this hand, the hand I tap with, is keeping that steady beat. It's this hand, the hand that I fret with, that's changing the rhythm of the notes. So I would actually have to tap with this hand, and it's very awkward for me to do that, and that's a distraction for me. But other people do find them useful, and therefore they're out there. Now I have a lot of this stuff on notes that I will send with the recording of this. Including links to some websites and apps that help with rhythm training, and also there's this wonderful dulcimer group, the Cumberland Gap, and they have a series of, there's like 170-ish tunes that they recorded themselves playing, and it's just great. This is really wonderful. And also, those notes provide a link to a YouTube playlist of 50s, 60s hop music, because remember what I said, the first challenge is playing to the beat. Alright, questions about any of that? No? Okay. I think we should move on. So we're going to go, well, I'm going to stop this share. Again, one of the hardest reasons, I should have said this, one of the hardest things to understand about rhythm is that when you play with a group, when you play with a band, you have to stay on the time. You have to keep the rhythm. You have to play with everybody else. But what makes rhythm hard is that in most modern music, there's soloists. I mean, you guys have all heard people sing the national anthem at various sporting events, okay? And they're not singing on the strict beat and rhythm of that tune ever, because as a soloist, you are expected to put expression into your music. And the number one way to put expression into your music is to change the timing and the rhythm of the song. So we're all hearing songs being played and sung where people are messing up the rhythm. And I think that's really the number one reason why it's so hard for people to catch this rhythm, because they're not used to playing with other people, and they're not used to feeling that rhythm in their body as they're playing it. You know, if you play mostly by yourself in the comfort of your own home, it's really, really hard to hear that rhythm and get it going with your body. So just bear that in mind. This is not, there's nothing really rocket science about it. It just takes practice. It just takes dedication and listening to that music with a steady beat where you can really try to catch that rhythm. And then once you do become a performer on stage, you need to throw that all out, because playing a song on the steady beat is not going to be interesting to anyone listening, right? So that's the conundrum that we have. All right, moving on. I am going to reshare my screen from the iPad, and we're going to move on to Barlow Knife. Okay, I'm getting there. All right, hello, iPad, you can do it. Here we go. All right, I'm going to give you guys a quiz. What's the time signature? Anyone want to unmute and call that out?
4/4.
4/4. And what does that mean?
There's 4 beats to a measure, and the quarter note gets the beat.
Yay! I'm sure you knew that before I talked for the last 10 minutes, but thank you. Yes, that is your number one clue to what the rhythm is. The other thing I'd like you to just look at this, let's look at the music for a second before we try to play it, because one of the things I want to point out is, if you look at these 3 different lines, okay, this rhythm, not note value, but rhythm, this rhythm and this rhythm are all the same. Okay? Da, 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 da. That's the rhythm for all of those sections I just circled. Do people see that? Thumbs up. Yay, okay. And let me get rid of that part. Whee! I love this eraser thing. Yay. Okay. And, oh, I had an undo. Okay, cool. Now, can I have that writing thing? The rhythm of this, can I have the righty thing? That thing. Thank you. The rhythm of this section and that section is also the same. Okay? Not the note value, but the rhythm, okay? The duration of notes. So really you have 3 different rhythms to learn in this song, and that's it. Okay? So it's a good idea to try and just read the music first without trying to play it before, and to recognize those areas that are the same. Okay? Alright, so this is 4/4 timing. I'm going to count to 4, and then we're going to come in. The first line repeats, the second line we play twice, and the third line we play twice. We'll play it really slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2. 2. Back to the beginning. Second line. Second line again. Last line. That line again. How'd that feel? Thumbs up if you felt good. Oh, I should turn my camera around so you can theoretically see my dulcimer. Woohoo! Thumbs up, good. All right, yay! Okay. Any questions about fingering or issues with this song? Again, if you're just beginning, you're playing the melody. If you're progressing a little bit, you're going to want to try and get some of those chords in there, because it just sounds better, in my opinion. Okay. This is another great song where I'm using my strum to count this out. So I strum out on the 5/7, right? Bring my hand back in without hitting the strings. Strum out again for the next 7, the beginning of the song, and then I shift to 4/4/6, strum out again, and then when I come back in this time, I'm going to hit that 7, and then strum out on the 8. All right, so that's what I'm trying to express when I'm saying use your strumming hand to help with the rhythm. All right, moving on. Angel Band. This has 2 different parts. There's a Dulcimer 1 part and a Dulcimer 2 part, and it also has 2 pages, so you'll see the music shift like this in the middle of it, right? So if you're going to play the melody part, it's actually mostly played on the bass string and the middle string, and that's the first. I just want to show it out. Oops. So this is Dulcimer part 1. That's the melody, and then you drop down and you play that tab, and you drop down and you play that tab. So that's all the melody, and the same for the second page. If you're playing the harmony part, then you're playing this line of tab, and then this line of tab, and then this line of tab. So everybody sees that and, Try not to get mixed up with the lines of tab. I do it all the time. This is another great place where using a highlighter helps. If you're going to be dulcimer 1, you highlight those notes. But it's a pretty duet. I will play the melody part, the dulcimer 1 part. This song is actually in 6/4 timing, believe it or not. Alright, so that's a little odd. We don't see that very often, but obviously it's 6 beats per measure, with the quarter note being the note that gets 1 beat. I'm going to count to 5 and then come in because there's a pickup note here. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Second page. 2, 3. Whoops. How did that feel for feet, folks? People get lost? This is a hard one because the tab is a little bit different, and it for the melody, it is not on the melody line. So I'm going to play through what's considered the harmony in this song, and that is more on the melody line, and it sounds very similar and still makes for a great song. So this is playing the Dulcie 2 part, and that would be this line. Alright, let's head for that one. 1, again counting to 5 because this is in 6/4 timing with a pickup note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rest. Second page. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2, 2, 3. Feeling good about it? Like it? It's okay? Alright, let's travel along. Alright, so down by the Sally Garden. So I'd like to point out in this song, so there is a musical phrase that is this much of the song, okay? And that is absolutely identical to this part with these two notes at the beginning, okay? And it is repeated not precisely, but almost again the same as this part of the song. Okay? So while this looks really complicated, you have really only about a total of maybe 10, 15 measures of different rhythms and notes to learn to play. Okay? So that's why I say it helps to, I'm going to say the expression read the music, and by read the music I don't mean like understand the notes and all of the values. Just compare the different parts of the song to one another, and that helps to say, oh wait, it's not as bad as it looks. Alright, so let's get rid of all of the red stuff. Okay, this is in C timing. Whoa! Right? What does C mean for a time signature? Does anybody know that? You want to unmute and say?
Isn't it common?
It's exactly. It stands for common timing, and common timing is 4/4 timing. Absolutely. It can also, the C can also stand for cut timing, depending on the arranger. Sometimes they do that, and cut timing is 2/4 timing. Okay, so just be on the lookout for that. But usually, the better arrangers use C to mean common timing. 4/4. Okay. So there's some dotted notes in here, and eighth notes, and quarter notes, and half notes, and it's just a matter of learning how the tune goes, really, and practicing the individual rhythms. And sometimes it's a matter to, you have to practice one small measure to get it and then build out from there, a measure at a time. Alright, so, but this is in 4/4 timing. I'm going to count to 3 and then come in because we have these 2 eighth notes to pick up. Alright. 1, 2, 3. 3. 2, 3. 2. And then back to the familiar. Alright, so in this song, because you play the same phrase 3 times, it's usually a good idea to pull out that middle section where it seems to get a little harder and just practice that in isolation. Alright, so that is, we're going to start that. We're going to start this here. Whoops, come on, give me a... Oh, interesting. Yay, thank you. Okay, we're just going to play from that red mark to this second red mark. Alright? That's the section of the song that's a little bit harder, and it's really only harder because you don't play it as often, right? The other three phrases of the song you're playing repeatedly, so they get easier. But this one section in this song tends to get a little tough because you don't play it so often. So it's a good idea to pull out sections like this. Now, again, I'm going to count to 3. And then we'll come in on the 4, and we're just going to play up to that B minor on the next line. All right, and I'm going to play it really a lot slower. All right, because when I need to learn how to play a song, that's what I do. Right, if I'm getting tripped up in a section, I just slow it way down and play it that way. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay? And if that was still too fast for you, then practice it even slower. So the weird thing that the brain does, and I promise you it works like this, the weird thing the brain does is it learns the distance between notes, and it doesn't matter how slow you're going, okay, it will maintain that same distance as you speed it up. So your fingers and your brain will all work together for you to get the rhythm. All right. So, let's move on. Ooh, Spotted Pony. Yay. Another great song to coordinate your fretting hands with your strumming hands. Okay? And it's another great song to use your strumming hand to keep you in this rhythm. Okay? I'm going to play it really slow. This is 4/4 timing. I'll count to 4, and then we'll come in. There's no pickup measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm using my in and out to control these notes. My in and out strumming. Here it comes. Back to the beginning on this one. Second line. Moving on to the third line. Last line. Third line again. Okay, how was that for people? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yay, Bonnie. Yay. Little. Okay. Yes. Little. Yeah. So it really. This is a song like Whiskey Before Breakfast that really stretches your ability to strum with a very steady beat in and out and move your fretting hand at the correct time. And it's a coordination thing. It's like patting your head and rubbing your stomach. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to do this until you get used to it. So it's just a matter of going really slow to the point and just practicing this. I promise it's really just a matter of practice. There's nothing you can't do in any of this if you don't practice. If you just practice it a little bit. All right, we are gonna move on. So, Blackest Crow, yay. This is an example of tab where the person has attempted to indicate duration marks with these kind of lines below the tab notes, okay? It's not perfect, right? Because if you see, there's a line for a quarter note as well as a line for a half note, okay? So that's not exactly perfect. But down here, they do have added in the dotted notes as well as the tie notes. So it's an attempt to indicate note duration in the tab. And sometimes you'll see notes that are held longer, whole notes or whatever. In this type of tab, those numbers will be circled. But yeah, this is a pretty tune in 3/4 time. The next 4 waltzes are the songs that I just fell in love with on the dulcimer and I just really wanted to play better because they were so pretty. And I just worked on them so that I could play them. All right, this also has 2 pages, so you'll see it shift when we get to the second page. The Blackest Crow. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then we'll come in. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Sorry. 1, 2. The bottom of the page. Move into the second page. Alright, pretty song. Questions? Issues? I just find that, there's quarter notes and half notes, and I get tripped up sometimes. It's this rhythm where dun 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 dun, and then I have to remember, there's some places where I have to keep going. Dun 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 dun, and that always kind of trips me up. Until I practice this a bit. Alright, Southwind. Southwind is another beautiful waltz, and the rhythm is a little bit dicier because there's a lot of quarter notes, dotted quarter notes. But I think it's one of those songs it's best to just hear it and keep trying to play it because it's a very popular dulcimer song. Again, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then we'll come in. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Back to the beginning. How did people feel about that? Good? Yes? No? Maybe so? Oh, yay. Thumb ups? Am I seeing a thumb up? It's a beautiful song. Yay. Okay, great. Thank you. And it's a really good song to play on the dulcimer and get good in your head and hands, because you'll hear it at every jam you go to if you go to festivals, and you'll be able to play along with that. Okay, For Mary's, another popular song, not quite as popular as Southwind. Again, 3/4 timing. There's often a pickup note in 3/4 timing, as there is here. So count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then we'll come in. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, I just want to point out, often it is true, okay, so since there is a pickup note here, a single note in the measure, single beat in the measure before the music starts, the last measure has only 2 beats in it, okay, and that means you know, essentially that's that way because you go right back to the beginning and you pick up that note and you keep playing the song round and round and round. Okay, did people see that? So just watch for that kind of stuff, because that just gives you a clue again to how the song is played. Now the other thing you could try with a song like this is to kind of flat pick it and add in some grace notes on the middle string and the bass string where time permits, meaning where you're holding the notes. So for example, on the first line on the G chord, okay, so that's after the pickup measure, that's the 3rd measure in, okay, the 3-3-5 is the G chord. Well, you're actually holding that for a total of 3 beats, so you can actually do kind of a pick of your middle and bass string. So let me play that slowly, and you can hear what that sounds like, and you can try it, and it's something to practice. But here, and it's a good idea when you're picking the individual strings, you want to pick out and then pick in and then pick out. You kind of do a back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with your pick. When you strum, you're strumming with your whole arm, not your wrist. Okay? But when you do flat picking, you pick in, you pick out, you pick in and pick out, and that just helps you speed up along the line. And you're doing your picking if you're doing flat picking from your wrist. Strumming the whole arm, flat picking is the rest. Okay, so I'm going to flat pick this one through, and those of you who want to try it can practice it, and it's just a really, it just adds a lot to this song. Again, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then we'll come in. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So you see what I'm saying? You can just add a little bit of those little extra notes where you have time. It helps you keep with the rhythm, but it also adds a really pretty thing. Those are called grace notes or ornamentals. And as a musician, you just have to learn. That's another way you add expression to the song. They just come out of your heart where they fit in for you for the music. Okay. Moving on, Beautiful Dreamer. Now in this case, the grace notes are spelled out for you by this arranger. So this is a great song to learn note by note and play exactly what's written on the page, because it gives you a sense for how to add those grace notes and ornamentals. This is in 9/8 timing. Egads. But there's 9 beats per measure, and the 8th note gets 1 beat. Alright, I am going to count, I'm not going to count to 9, because that seems to defeat the purpose, but I will count a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we will come in. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, ready, play. Hear those grace notes. Some more. It'd be really boring if you're just holding this note for this long. Last line of this page. Moving to the next page. Okay, before I go on, this little half circle over a dot at that's over the last note of this measure is called a fermata, and it means hold this note as long as you want. And again, that's where I'm saying that that as you play as a solo performer, you're adding expression by changing up the duration of these notes. So this little like upside down smile with the dot in the middle is called the fermata. And you just hold that for as long as you want. All right, moving on to the second line on this page. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Whoops. Ugh. Now there's the pretty part of the song. Another fermata. All right. So the last line of the music, not the alternate ending, which is the half measure at the very end, but the last line that starts 6 5 6 and a half 7 7, and then 4 2 1 0 3, and then you have what's called a triplet. And that triplet has to take up the same amount of time as 2 beats. So if you're just going to play the straight beats, then starting with the 1 0 3, it would be, okay, that's the rhythm that you have to match if you're going to play the triplet. And in this case, the arranger suggests doing a little shuffle slide with your thumb. Okay, but you have to do that little shuffle slide, going from the 2 back to the 3 back to the 2 in the same amount of time as it would just play the 2 once. Okay. You don't have to add it if you don't want to. You can just play it straight. But if you can get that timing in, it adds a little nice tone to that. Questions about that? It's a little more complicated, and there's a lot of chording. But if you practice each section, you will get this, and it's a pretty song. And you'll never go back to another instrument if you play a different instrument. I promise you. All right. Oh, did I miss a song? No, I didn't. Soldier's Joy. Okay. What time are we at? 6:19. Okay. Oh, and then that's it. All right. So yeah, we're right on time. So Soldier's Joy. Again, this song, I have tabbed it out where there's a triplet to begin several of the measures, the first measure in particular. Okay? You don't have to play the triplet. It can just be 4 2 open 2 4 7 7. Okay? But if you're feeling adventurous and you want to challenge yourself, try to get the triplet in. And I do it with I plant my ring finger on the 4, and then I use my index finger, I strum the 4, and then I hammer my index finger down on the 5, and then I immediately pull it off. But this ring finger is planted on that 4 so that there's that fret is never let up. Does that make sense to people? It's a really good idea to get all of your fingers involved in playing the dulcimer, because that's how you do it fast and fancy. All right. So I'm going to play it straight for those folks that would get messed up with the timing. Plus, it's actually hard for me to do that triplet when we play slow. So I'm going to play it slow, and I'll play it straight without the triple. Okay? And this is, again, C for common timing for 4 beats to the measure. Quarter note gets the beat. I'll count to 4, and then we'll come in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. That repeats. Maybe I'll play it correctly this time. Alright. Third line. Last line. Back to the third line. Last line. Ah! Okay. If you are still struggling with knowing where the frets are, particularly as you move up into the higher frets on the dulcimer, this is a really great song to practice, but the other thing to do is to just start at your first fret and spend maybe 2 or 3 minutes during your practice session and just strum out and call out the frets as you move your fingers up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5, 7, 8. I have an 8.5. I'm skipping it. 9, 10, 11, 12. Usually don't go much past 12. And if you do that a couple of times, 1, 2, 3, just as I say, you're just walking up each fret and count and calling out the number of that fret as you go. 5, 6, 7. Excuse me. 5, 6, 6.5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Do that a few times each time you practice, and you will quickly know where all the fret numbers are on your dulcimer, and you won't be struggling to find them. And I will tell you the other magic trick. Why do we care about fret numbers on a dulcimer? I think I'm going to stop the share. Does anyone really want to play Planksteady tonight? We can do it, or I can share one other piece of advice. Thoughts? Okay, hearing none. I'm gonna stop this thing. Stop sharing. Yay. Okay, and I'm gonna switch my camera around because we're almost at 6:30, and I want to give us some time for questions and comments. But the last thing I was going to say, the reason why Mountain Dulcimer players use tab with numbers, and we are not focusing on learning the note names, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, the reason why we do this is because as you advance as a mountain dulcimer player, you retune your dulcimer frequently. So you play in DAD, or you play in CGC, or you play in DAA, and you play in DF sharp A, okay? And when you retune, all of the notes change on your dulcimer, okay? So it's important what we suggest, and we will get to retuning. So, you know, the next set of songs, which I'll typically probably start in June or July, I'll have some songs where we have to retune, okay? And the whole point of this is so that you understand that when you retune, all the notes change. So it's important to recognize what type of tuning you're in. So for example, if you are in DAD, it's called a 1, 5, 8 tuning, okay? Because D is, you start with 1, and then you go D, E, F, G, A. A is the 5th note away from D, okay? So D, A, D is a 1, 5, 8 tuning. Now, if you have tab that's in DAD, you can play your dulcimer by yourself in any tuning that is also 1, 5, 8 tuning. Okay, so you can play in C, G, C, for example, and that's all just one note down. Tune it down. And the reason why people do that is so that it's singable. Most people struggle to sing in the key of D with the notes that high. But if you ratchet your dulcimer down a little bit and take the tuning down a little bit, you can sing, usually, typically, in the key of C. All right, so that's why dulcimer players play with tab more so and focus on the numbers rather than say you're going to have to learn the notes, because the notes become meaningless when you're constantly retuning your dulcimer. Or if you're like me and you own 7 dulcimers and several of them are in different tunings, right? So yeah, I mean, advanced players, they will learn that this is an E and this is an F sharp, and then, you know, and this is a G. They'll learn those notes, you know, but that's, you know, years down the road and not something you need to worry about right now. Because again, the emphasis is on having the dulcimer be as versatile as it can by retuning it. All right, questions, thoughts? Is this helpful to people? You keep showing up, so I guess that's good. Other thoughts, questions? Is there anything that you guys would like me to cover in April?
Way in the future, maybe a capo. How to use a capo.
Great point. Yes. Okay. So, yeah. So when we start talking about retuning, yeah, I will introduce a capo. Good point. I have shied away from that a little bit because everybody has to buy one, right? The use of a capo. So I will give everybody a heads up when those classes start. But yeah. Is there anything else that folks are interested in? I'm just checking the chat. I saw some, can I even see the chat? Like, where's going on? New message. Oh, thank you very much. Great class. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so, you know, I try to, these are sort of a mixture between just jam, learning tunes, and also trying to learn. Sometimes it's a single topic. Sometimes I cover a whole bunch of stuff during the hour and a half. So I hope that's helpful to people. And it doesn't, you know, my goal isn't to give you, like, if I was going to teach a class on a specific topic, you know, you'd have handouts and you'd have a whole bunch of stuff on that specific topic. So that's really not my goal. My goal for these is just to say, this is a joy machine. Let's play it. you know, and let's get this, let's get some joy in our life. All right, guys, thanks. And
Thank you.
hopefully we'll see you next month. All right.